Hello, I'm Gaurav Sharma from Hitbullseye.com and welcome to this lecture. In this lecture, we will cover the Indian political executive and the components and what functions they follow. Basically, Indian political environment can be divided into different organs. There are three basic organs of Indian government. The nature of these functions is governed by the functions that they follow. The legislature makes laws. The executive executes or implements these laws, and the judiciary adjudicates these laws, whether these laws which are made conform to the statutes of the constitution. And further, executive is divided at different levels. The first one is the central or union executive. This is headed by the president, and the state executives, which are headed by the governor. The state executives are present in all of the 29 states of India, as well as two union territories. Those are Delhi and Puducherry. Basically, let's do what the executive and the union executive consists of. First, it is headed by the president. There is also vice president. Third is prime minister plus council of ministers, and fourth is attorney general of India. So these four compose the Indian executive at the union level, and subsequently at the state level it is the governor, the council of ministers headed by the chief minister, and the advocate general. So let's begin with the president. President is also known as the head of the state or the first citizen of India. At present, Mr. Pranab Mukherjee is the head of the state or the president. The elections of president are as such. It is not direct elections, but rather an indirect form of elections in which members of the electoral college vote. This electoral college consists of elected members of both Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha, elected members of all the state legislative assemblies, as well as two legislative assemblies of Delhi and Puducherry. So this all is the electoral college which votes for president, takes part in the presidential elections. The qualifications of president are he should be a citizen of India, he should have attained an age of more than 35 years, he should not hold an office of profit. These are the main qualifications which the president, a person who is going to fight for elections and in the presidential should have these qualifications. Now, if a person after every elections, the president is administered an oath by the Chief Justice of India, after which he gains office, and there are certain conditions which are applicable with the office of president. First, he shall cease to become, or he should not be a member of parliament, either a member of Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, or any MLA. For example, Pranab Mukherjee in the UPA government was a union minister, and he had to resign his candidature in Lok Sabha in order to become the president. Secondly, a president is entitled to the residence, that is Rashtrapati Bhavan. Thirdly, he shall not hold any office of profit. These are a few conditions with the office of president. The term is of 5 years, but before the completion of his term, the president can be removed or impeached. Let's take a look at the impeachment process. The impeachment process can be initiated in either of the house, either Rajya Sabha or Lok Sabha. Basically, the reason is any violation of the constitution. These charges shall be signed with the membership, 1/4 of the total membership of that house, or 25% of the total membership of that house. the president is given 14 days notice, and after this a resolution for the removal of president is passed by 2/3 majority of the total membership of that house. And after this resolution has been passed, it is sent to the other house, which shall again investigate these charges, and again it shall pass this resolution by 2/3 majority. And after both the houses have individually passed these charges and investigated these charges and passed the resolution, the president is removed. This is the process of impeachment. Alternatively, the office of president can have certain vacancies, can get vacant after every 5 years, that is whenever the term of the president gets over. Secondly, if he resigns from office by giving his resignation to the vice president. Thirdly, impeachment if he is removed from his office. Fourthly, removal, resignation, 5 years, and of course upon his death. And lastly, if his elections are declared as void. So these are the 5 conditions in which the office of president can be deemed as vacant. The office of president also has certain powers and functions. There are 7 major functions that the president performs. These are executive, legislative, financial, judicial, diplomatic, military, and emergency powers. The executive powers of the president include all the executive actions are taken in his name. All the government actions are taken by under the name of the president. All the appointments and dismissals are also done by him. The Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers are given the oath by the President of India. The CAG or other constitution bodies are also appointed. Similarly, the appointments or dismissals of Governor, Prime Minister, Financial Commissioners, UPSC, Election Commissioners, basically all the constitutional bodies are appointed by the President. Similarly, the legislative functions of President are: he is entitled or he summons every session of every year. There are 3 sessions: budget, monsoon session, and winter session. It is the legislative power of the president to call or summon these sessions. Similarly, if all these sessions are to be finished or closed, this is called as prorogation. Whenever a single session is to be closed, that is called a prorogation. And this is also a legislative power of the president. And after the dissolution of the house takes place after the tenure or rather 5 years, or whenever the government fails to have majority. It is the constitutional discretion or the constitutional power of the president to dissolve Lok Sabha and have elections again. And also it is the power of the president to call a joint sitting. That is, both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha sit together, presided by the speaker, and certain and any bill or an act can be taken up during this joint sitting. Besides this, the parliament address: first sitting of newly formed Lok Sabha, and secondly, first sitting of every budget session. That is the first day of first session. So on these 2 days, a parliament address is given by the president, which has to be passed by both the houses. Further, legislative powers of president also include his assent. This assent is given by the president for any bill to become a law. Without the assent of the president, no bill can become a law, that is, no act can be made. And there are certain bills which cannot be introduced in the Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha without the prior consent of the president. For example, money bill requires the prior consent of the president before it can be introduced in Lok Sabha, and also certain financial bills under Article 1117, and of course Article 3, that is constitution of a new state or rebuilding of new boundaries, changing boundaries of any state or union territory. For example, if Telangana had to be made, the resolution had to be introduced before, with the prior consent of the president. And then there are certain vetoes that the president has: absolute veto, suspensive veto, and pocket veto. These are the three vetoes that the president has. Absolute veto means if any bill is given to the president for his assent, then it is within his power to either sign it or to reject it. This is the absolute power. Suspensive veto is when the president does not completely disagree with the bill but has certain reservations with respect to it. So the president returns the bill to the parliament with certain recommendations, and if in this case if the parliament again passes the bill with or without recommendations, then it becomes imperative for the president to sign it. He has to sign it. Therefore, he can delay the applicability of the bill, or he can suspend it. Pocket veto is the president does nothing. Like if there is a certain bill, it is given to him, he does not reject it, he does not sign it, he takes no action. This is because there is no time limit specified by the constitution within which the president has to take his or her decision. Besides that, there is nominations. There are 2 nominations in Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. There are 12 nominations. These MPs are nominated by the President of India. And besides this, there is the ordinance making power of the president. That is Article 123. Under the ordinance making power, the president can make laws which conform whenever there is no session which is in operation. That is between recesses. The parliament can pass any of the laws within the 3 sessions, that is budget or monsoon or winter session. If there is an urgent need to pass any new legislation, so the government of that day requests, or rather provides the president with the ordinance which can be promulgated by the president. But this ordinance only stands certain conditions. This ordinance is not passed within 6 weeks of the first sitting of that house. This ordinance stand cancelled. For example, our land acquisition bill, recent one, it lapsed, therefore it discontinued or did not become an act. Besides this, there are certain financial powers of the president as well. All the money bills can only be introduced with the prior approval of the president. It is the power of the president that he causes the annual financial statement or the budget to be laid down before the parliament. The recommendations for demands of grants, this can only be done by the approval of the president. And of course, he constitutes the finance commission after every 5 years. The powers of finance commission includes devolution of resources of tax, the amount of money that has to be devoluted with the states. It is given by the finance commission as statutory grants. The judicial powers of presidents include the appointment of Chief Justice of India, Supreme Court judges and High Court judges. He is also empowered to grant pardon, reprieve, respite and remission, and he is the only person who can pardon court-martial and death sentences. Although pardoning power is also provided to the governor, but with respect to court-martial and death sentences, powers only lie with the President of India. All the treaties, all the international treaties that are signed by the Indian government, all are signed on behalf of the President. Besides, it is only the power of President to declare war or peace. President declares war or President declares peace, and therefore he is also the supreme commander of all the military of India. Along with all these powers, the President of India also has certain emergency powers. Emergency powers can be again divided into 3 parts: national emergency, president's rule and financial emergency. National emergency can be called as internal or external depending upon the reasons of its applicability. External emergency can be called on two accounts, war or external aggression, whereas internal emergency can be called on the account of armed rebellion. This armed rebellion was replaced in the 44th Amendment in 1978. Earlier it was internal disturbance. Moreover, the national emergency in India has been called thrice in 1962, 1971 and 1975. In these cases, 1975 was an internal emergency and the rest two were external emergencies on account of wars with China and Pakistan. The second type is president's rule or state emergency. State emergency can be called on accounts of two basic accounts, Article 356 and Article 365. Article 356 states that whenever there is a condition, a situation occurs, whenever the government of that state cannot be carried on in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution. So the president can call state emergency with respect to the report which is submitted by the president or otherwise as well. So Article 356 states this, and Article 365 states that it will be lawful for the president to claim or to proclaim president's rule whenever the government of the state fails to comply with the directions given by the central government. So these are the two articles which pertain to the state emergency. Apart from these, there is a third type of emergency, financial emergency, covered by Article 360. Financial emergency states that whenever there is a threat to the Indian economy or the stability or the credit of Indian economy, then financial emergency can be called in. So far, no financial emergency has been called. This brings us to the Vice President. Election, same electoral college. The electoral college consists of all members of Lok Sabha plus Rajya Sabha. Not just elected but nominated as well. And there is no state legislative assemblies in this. So only members of the parliament get to vote. The qualifications are similar. Citizen of India, more than 35 years of age. He should not have any office of profit. The conditions are also similar, that if he is an MP or an MLA, he shall resign before he takes up office, and of course he should not hold any office of profit. Term again 5 years. Vacancy, he can be after every 5 years he is automatically removed upon his death, upon removal, and if he resigns, and if his elections are termed as void. So these are the 5 conditions in which there can be vacancy in the office of Vice President. It can be removed by a resolution introduced in only Rajya Sabha, because he is of course an ex officio chairperson of Rajya Sabha. A 14 days notice shall be given to him, and after this Rajya Sabha can pass as a resolution by absolute majority, which can be agreed by Lok Sabha, and thus Vice President is removed. The powers and functions: he is an ex officio chairperson of Rajya Sabha, and he acts as a president when the vacancy occurs. This post of Vice President has been taken from USA. So these are the powers and the functions of the Vice President. Besides this, there is a Council of Ministers which is headed by the Prime Minister. It is also called as primus inter pares, that is first among equals. He is the leader of the House. He presides over the cabinet and chooses his ministers and their portfolios as well. Council of Ministers, there are certain ministers. There are 3 hierarchy of ministries. There is cabinet ministers, there are minister of states and deputy ministers. The apex is the cabinet, which is presided by the prime minister, and also there are ministers which hold certain key portfolios and aid in decision making. That is, this group of ministers is called the cabinet ministers, and there are minister of states and deputy ministers who assists both cabinet ministers and minister of states with independent charge. These ministers The appointment and reshuffle and dismissal is all done by the president, but on advice of the prime minister. And there is also the fourth one, the fourth part of our union executive is the attorney general. He is appointed by the president, but he is recommended by the government because he is essentially a advocate of the government. The tenure is linked with the government. As long as the government is in power, the attorney general remains same, but he can of course resign anytime, and he is also not barred from private practice. The main duties of attorney general of India are he is a legal advisor to the government. If there are certain legal issues on which the government wants some information, then the attorney general provides them with such information. He is the representative of the government in any of the cases, court cases, and any such function that is conformed to him by the constitution. Now, attorney general is the only person who has the right to give speech in parliament without being a member of either of the house. So this is the only person who has such a power. Then there is the state executive. The state executive is headed by the governor, the chief minister, plus advocate general. Now the post of advocate general is similar to that of attorney general. Attorney general is at the central level. Advocate general is at the state level. Now the state executive is the governor. He is appointed by the president, and there is no such conditions which are applied or applicable to this. He can be removed anytime. There is no security of tenure for the governor. It can be dismissed by the central government, by the president anytime. The chief minister is appointed by the governor. He is dismissed by the governor. There are certain constitutional discretions which are available with the governor in this case. Now there is also state legislative assembly and legislative council. All the ministers take oath by the governor. Chief minister takes oath from the governor. This is present in all the 29 states. But there is 28 states apart from Jammu and Kashmir, which has its own constitution with the virtue of Article 370, which provides or gives certain special status to state of Jammu and Kashmir. There is a limited application of the 7th schedule, that is lists, and all this that residuary powers lie with the state legislature. And in Indian concept, these residuary powers lie with the central government, but in case of Jammu Kashmir, they lie with the state of Jammu and Kashmir. This brings us to the end of this lecture. In this lecture, we had studied the Indian political environment and the executive in detail, the union executive and the state executive, their composition, their functions, and other powers that are related to them. In the subsequent lectures, we shall study about other organs, legislative and judicial organs. Till then, good luck, work hard, and hit the bullseye. Thank you.